We're going to name our mailbag the Cal Bag.
What?
Customer Engagement Lab. Cal Bag.
No, I don't like that.
You don't like it?
It's too many consonants.
The Sea Bag.
No. Definitely not that. But keep brainstorming. I'm not going to shoot you down.
Well, hey, everybody. I'm ready to start the show, but my co-host, Patrick Downs...
I'm not going to talk like that anymore. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Customer Engagement Lab. I'm your host, Travis Tyler. I'm here with my co-host, Patrick Kale Juice Downs. How you doing, Patrick?
Welcome to the least funny podcast on the internet, everybody. What's our first topic?
We're going to start today's show with some TikTok videos. I found, and I'll put the headphones on you since I've already watched these. This is Sean. Go ahead and follow Bit of Business on TikTok. Shout out to TikTok. If you're on it, go check it out. But Bit of Business is Sean's channel. He has a YouTube channel as well, where he shares interesting business news and information. And these are marketing fails. And I know, Patrick, that you love both video games and marketing fails. So let's go ahead and just show this clip and get the show started.
Fails Ever, Episode 2. In 2009, EA shipped early copies of The Godfather 2 along with a box of goodies to different media outlets. Included within the package, a pair of brass knuckles, which are classified as an illegal weapon or require permits in all but 12 states, which they quickly figured out and requested the brass knuckles be shipped back to their headquarters. However, some media outlets took alternative options, such as Engadget, who dedicated an entire article to things they punched with their EA brass knuckles.
Okay, I'm going to show you one more, okay?
Okay.
Same guy. This one involves Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg.
Our capabilities by visiting the aftermath of Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico. Their grinning avatars walk the streets of devastated neighborhoods as Zuckerberg pointed out how magical VR is as they performed a virtual high five in front of flooded homes.
Okay, so I love this guy. He takes marketing fails and puts them into like 20-second, like quick takeaways that are both super interesting and informative and kind of hilarious. Which one of those two stuck out to you most, and what are some of your reactions?
The second one for sure, because Mark Zuckerberg high-fiving somebody in front of like destroyed homes is very on brand for Mark Zuckerberg. And I feel like Mark has sort of made this weird brand for himself. Like, were you the one that pointed out the smoked meats
I don't
video
think so.
to me? Somebody showed me that. There's like a highlight clip of his Facebook live stream when they first launched Facebook Live, where he's just in the background with his friends, and they're in the backyard for like 6 hours just cooking meat. And the entire thing is him going, we're just smoking some meats. And there's at least 100 voice clips of him just saying that same thing over and over.
What do you
He's
think?
a weird dude.
What do you think it is that people love? So to give the audience some context, Patrick and I held a brainstorming session internally at Panadoc with people from other teams that we don't normally talk to on an everyday basis, and we wanted some ideas for fun segments. And something that came up during the brainstorm session was like, Travis and Patrick, you should cover like sales and marketing fails. And a lot of people chimed in and said like, that would be great. I know that I learn more from my failures than I do from my successes. But what do you think it is about seeing fails that people just love so much, especially in this context?
I think it's the whole, oh, it's not me thing.
Damn.
Right? I think most people are so afraid of being embarrassed, and like they essentially structure their whole lives around making themselves seem cool. I mean, social media as a concept is like, here's the coolest parts of my life. Who's going and posting the worst parts of their life on social media, right? Nobody.
I'm trying to remember where this is from, but people, myself included, we all do what we can, or almost all of us. There's definitely a handful of people out there that just really do not care.
Mark.
Wait, what?
Like Mark Zuckerberg. It's like, look, I'm the richest person in the world. Who cares at this point? I'm smoking meats.
I'm part lizard. It doesn't matter at this point. But they try to embarrass-proof their lives.
Yes.
That might be why also businesses don't try to do they try to embarrass proof their business in a sense too, to avoid scenarios like this. But like, I could totally see myself doing something almost as dumb as the first clip in the TikTok video where he shows the EA brass knuckles.
Yeah, I mean,
I could see me being like sitting around a table and being like, all right, guys, we're gonna send, our cab members a gift. What should we get them? We got to think outside the box.
But wasn't that technically like a good move? That one didn't seem as much like a fail to me.
No,
where it's like it's publicity, right? The fact that they sent out brass knuckles probably got them more headlines than otherwise they would have gotten.
that could be a whole nother segment where we talk about like, is any press good press?
100%.
Yeah.
Unless you're being canceled. I think it's like all the way up to that line, all of it's good until you hit that.
Send us in some of your marketing and sales fails. Let us know if you have any funny videos or funny stories. You can email that to us at labs@pandadoc.com, or you can just send Patrick or myself a LinkedIn message. But we want to keep the fails segment going because I loved that.
I love it too. We're going to name our mailbag the Cal Bag.
What?
Customer Engagement Lab. The Cal Bag.
No, I don't like that.
You don't like it?
Mm-mm. It's too many consonants.
The Sea Bag.
No. Definitely not that. But keep brainstorming. I'm not going to shoot you down. For our next segment, we're going to do a little bit of role play. We were inspired after our conversation with Gemma, the Vice President of Customer Success over at Chili Piper. Shout out Chili Piper.
Let's go.
In learning about different scenarios and the different stressors that hit CSMs, we thought it might be kind of fun to role play a CSM scenario. And I'm going to be the customer, and Patrick is going to be the CSM. So this is going to be a chat, just so you know. This is a chat. We're narrating it like a support chat.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Hi, can I ask you a question?
I need to speak with customer support now.
Okay. What is your issue?
I need to talk to somebody about getting PandaDoc installed.
Connecting. Hi, this is the ambulance. How can I help you today?
Yes, I am not able to install PandaDoc correctly, and I would like my money back now.
Okay. Let's take a couple steps back. What are you trying to install?
I need you to stop looking at your Apple Watch and focus on this chat.
It's weird that you can see me. Did you install cameras in my house?
I want my money back, and I know you took my credit card, so when is the money going back to my credit card?
Okay. So what are you looking to get a refund for?
I tried to install PandaDoc, and it's not working, and I'm really frustrated because I have a document that needs to be electronically signed today.
Okay. Are you open to talking to me a little bit about the issue and see if we can solve it so you can send the document today?
I really would just like my money back, but if you can get it working, like, we can talk about that.
Okay. Well, what is the issue you're having right now?
Well, I went and I signed up with my email and I created an account, but when I tried to upload a PDF, it didn't populate any fields for somebody to sign.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Are you familiar with the idea of an anchor tag? Link to anchor tag text.
I do not know what an anchor tag is.
There's a link you can click.
Can you just get my PDF to be signed?
Yes. We have something called fields, link to fields stuff. You need to make sure that you're putting on the signature block where you need it signed.
And seen. Good job, dude.
Thank you.
You were really calm.
Yeah, I know. I'm dealing with people that want to kill me like every day. It's weird how that happens because like when you first start in any sort of customer facing thing, I feel like you have this anxiety every time someone brings up an issue.
I'm sweating right now.
And you're like, oh, how do I fix this? I'm so scared. And then once you get used to it, and I think especially if you start learning how to change your attachment style, then that's when you could start reacting more rationally, which is always a better move.
If you're a CSM, is your outreach and attachment style like that you don't care if you help the person anymore?
It's that you don't care about the outcome. I still want to help the person, but I'm just not worried that there's going to be a negative outcome.
Can you give me an example?
Nice pain funnel. Essentially, what most CSMs do is they go, oh, no, I'm going to lose the account. This person hates me. which isn't helpful, right? What you should be thinking is, oh, this person's having a problem. How do I solve it? Which is a completely different attachment. You're attaching to the issue they're having and solving it rather than the potential negative outcome of them canceling their account.
And then how do you react, or besides detaching from the outcome, when somebody's angry? Like, what would you recommend that a CSM just like try to diffuse the anger? Because when in our situation, you just were like, well, would you like help? And that diffused me. So like, what was your tactic as you were thinking of what to say there?
Because you were going towards essentially, I want to cancel because this isn't working. And I was going to, okay, but you need to send a document. How do we get it working? Which is a solution to your actual issue. A lot of people attach to, I want to cancel, and not to the underlying issue of why they want to cancel.
I almost felt like you also employed that technique in a way where you were like, I'll cancel you and I'll help you get your document sent.
Yeah, if you really truly do want to cancel, I'm not going to try to stop you. But let's also see if we can just fix this.
Yeah. I think that is detaching from the outcome, because you're like, I don't care if you cancel, that's fine. If you're really unhappy, like, don't be a customer. But I do truly want to help you.
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
Beautiful.
With customer-facing roles, the more you try to get someone to like not want to do something or to do something, the more they're going to want to do that thing, right?
It's like having an unruly teenager in the home.
Yes, you have to be the parent in the situation where the issue is, and we talk about this a lot with like our Sandler sales training, is that a lot of salespeople and customer success people, they attach to like a child mentality where they're trying to please the person and prove to them they're doing it right. So you essentially have two children talking to each other. Right? Because there's the child of like, I hate this. And then there's a child of, I want to make this better. Where if you become the parent where you're like, okay, I know the best path, let's do it. Then their child is going to be like, okay. Because they're looking for that. They want someone to show them the way. And oftentimes we're not doing that.
Okay. This ties perfectly into an adorable TikTok I saw.
Great transition.
Obviously you can tell I watched a lot of TikTok this week. I came across this on Twitter. And this woman posted, this is a video of my 6-year-old diffusing my 4-year-old from going into a full-blown tantrum by getting him to meditate. And then you see a 6-year-old little boy, and he's standing in front of his 4-year-old little brother, and his little brother's getting really fussy, and he's starting like right on the precipice of just like losing his shit. And the older brother just goes, now we're going to breathe. Okay, we're going to breathe, because if you breathe, you'll feel better. So in, out. And you just like, it's amazing. But I was thinking of like two children helping each other. But maybe you could be a child that's like knows the way.
Exactly. But that's not a child. That isn't a biological child acting as the parent.
Damn.
I think we think about, and I always come back to identity versus role, right? Like the role we're playing is important, because like in that scenario, that child was playing the role of parent because they had to.
Yep.
And they learned it from the parent.
Man, we could also do a podcast on like parenting yourself.
We're just getting into weird psychological stuff at this point. But I feel like sales and marketing is mostly psychology.
Absolutely.
When it comes down to it, because it's how people react to what you do.
Yeah, I love when I see people from my program that I went to school for, because we all studied developmental psychology, and they're like, what are you up to these days? And I'm like, I'm in content marketing. And they're like, what? And I'm like, no, it really makes sense if you understand content marketing. It really does.
I'm sure you like enact what you learned every day.
Absolutely. I have another segment for you. This is also psychological, but it's more cathartic than anything else. Are you ready for this one?
I'm ready to cry.
Okay, we are we're not gonna cry. You might make me cry.
Okay.
Let me go ahead and pull up.
To do that.
So I pulled up an email here, and I'll make sure to block out any identifiable information from this person. But Patrick, we're stealing this bit from Key and Peele. Anger translator. Any of you are familiar with the Comedy Central show Key and Peele? There was a famous segment where one of the actors was portraying President Obama at the time, who would come off as calm, cool, collected, and then his anger translator, Luther, would say what he actually wanted to say. And so we're going to do that with an angry email, where I will read the email as it was sent. This is a real email that was sent to PandaDoc, and you'll translate his inner emotions of what he was feeling and thinking when he wrote this.
Oh, fun little improv game, huh?
You ready for this one?
I'm ready.
All right, so this is Angry Email Translator. Good afternoon. As I've stated before, we have chosen another solution and will not be using your product.
Your demo was terrible.
We have not used the product and do not plan to use it.
You offered me a free trial, and I literally just took an app instead.
Please remove me and our organization from your email communications.
I know you're just going to DQ me and put me in another list and then put me in automatic sales thing. If you do that, I will kill you.
Okay, let's do one more. I want to see some real fucking anger from you.
Oh, you want to see anger?
Let it out.
Look, I've been doing a lot of therapy the last couple months. I'm ready to just throw that all the way for this segment. That's going in the trash for the next 5 minutes.
This is take 2 of Angry Email Translator. Good afternoon. As I've stated before, we have chosen another solution and will not be using your product.
Your shit sucks.
We have not used the product and do not plan to use it.
It sucks bad. It's bad.
Please remove me and our organization from your email communications.
I swear to God, if you email me even one more time by mistake, I will find you and I will execute my military training. I went to war in Kuwait, all right? I will find you, okay? Okay.
Thanks, Ron.
That's Ron.
Great job. And no takeaways from that. We just wanted you guys to have a very cathartic moment with us as we all experience the occasional angry email in sales and marketing and customer success.
I'm going to start signing off everything with, that's Ron.
That's Ron. Thanks, Ron. And
Ron.
by the way, we did remove Ron from all of our lists. He has been unsubscribed. I spoke with the email marketing manager specifically about this. So shout out to Nate Torvik, our email marketing manager. Thanks, Nate.
Somewhere Ron is just sitting in a cadence, ready to go out. So we need to make sure that's not going to happen.
And that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode. We have an amazing special guest coming on right after this break. Any last thoughts, Patrick, before we switch to our guest?
Read a book.
Read a book. Okay. Patrick Downs.
Hey.
We are here, and we have an amazing guest that we've been talking to for the last couple of weeks, and we are so excited to bring on Tara Horstmeyer. Tara, welcome to the Customer Engagement Lab.
Welcome, Tara.
Hey, thanks for having me. And you totally nailed my last name. Nobody gets it right, so you did a great job.
I had a little panic attack. I was like, is Travis supposed to say like Horstmeyer or something? Some weird Dutch accent.
I would just like to say, for those listening and that can't see me, it's all about these German eyebrows, because that German name, Horstmeyer, is sehr gut. It's such a good last name.
Wait, what episode are we on now? It took you like 5 or 6 to break out the German accent. I feel robbed. Come on, man.
Tara, welcome to the show. One of the things that caught our attention, so Patrick has been talking to you on other shows and just on the sales network that he's a part of. But what really caught my attention is how diverse your background is. If someone were to look at your LinkedIn, they'll see that you've done content marketing, you've done partner success, you've been an SDR, an SDR manager. It seems like you've done it all, which is amazing. So I think we want to know a little bit about how do people do that? How do they move laterally? Like Patrick, I've been trying to get him to come to the content marketing team for months. He's not going to do it. So if his bosses are listening, don't worry. You have nothing to worry about. He's not leaving you. Treat him right. But anyway, I want to know about your like super diverse experience and how you jump laterally like so effortlessly. And maybe it's not effortlessly.
Yeah, I think that, excuse me, a lot of that's probably up to debate on the effort or effortlessly. But one of the things is that it's just really funny how people tend to, it's kind of like the notion of an overnight success. When you really look, it's not overnight. It's 20 years. It's whatever. It's, late nights, early mornings, all that. So I think the same thing kind of holds true with, especially at my time with Gravy, is that I was able to do so many things. Number one, anybody who has, give me an amen if you worked in startup world, some of that is just by necessity. It's like, hey, we've only got this small core team. And we need all of these things done. So who maybe has done something similar, who's done something that they want to try or go into, and this little engine that could just tends to draw people in who can do various things and give you the opportunity to do various things. So at Gravy, I was able to bring in actually all of my years of experience before I even got to Gravy and was able to do that. So I'm professionally trained, so to speak, as an editor, as a journalist. That's where I really began my journey and my career. But I also spent time in ministry and leadership and in specifically leadership development of people. So that's when I brought in kind of my manager hat. But when I got to Gravy, it's like everything started from scratch, which was so fun because I was on a team that really valued, hey, where are we now? Where do we want to go? And what are some different ways you can do that? So for me, it was easy to jump into content because I'm like, hey, that's what I do. That's what I've always done. I've written, I've edited. I've been really behind the scenes on a lot of great work in my previous roles. So I was able to bring that to Gravy. But the really cool thing, and I think the interesting thing that nobody saw at the time, including yours truly, was the move into sales development. So when I started at Gravy, we only really were working off of inbound as well as referrals. So this was, 2.5 years ago. Early days. And we, of course, wanted to say, okay, how do we move into more outbound? How do we get customers? How do we get clients? And I was able to just jump in and start experimenting and figured out really quickly that I had a knack for it, that I had a knack for all the things that actually made me really great at content and at copywriting, shockingly translated super well into sales. So as I've done that journey the last couple of years, it's really funny how so many of the pieces that I think we tend to pigeonhole into one segment or another are super transferable. And that goes especially between marketing and sales, and then from sales back to marketing, and then all the way across to customer success, that you'll find people who have kind of a neat mixture of drive, of tenacity, of communication, who can really thrive in each of those roles if given the opportunity and given the chance. And so that's where I think the secret sauce for me is the opportunity, as well, coupled with, a few different skill sets that I already possessed, but then was able to experiment with them in different ways. So that's how I was able to move kind of between departments and between roles pretty quickly. But then as my career progressed, was able to pull in the management side of me and the leadership stuff that I really love, and just be able to scale that to a team and lead a team, and then move more working through a team rather than through myself as an individual contributor.
Travis, me and you just looked at each other and we're like, wow.
I think the reason we looked at each other is just what was going through my mind as I was listening to you, Tara, is for a marketer, you have an awesome personality. And that's
Was
not
that a weird insult?
That's not
Like, usually marketers, not good people. Don't like them.
I love marketers.
But you're oddly a good person. I don't know. It's strange.
what I meant by that statement, and I'm not backpedaling or clarifying because I am a marketer, is that oftentimes marketers are a little bit more cerebral. Sometimes they hold their cards a little bit closer to their chest. They're not as gregarious. And that's why I love Patrick, because he's in sales and he is all of those things that I just listed. And that's what I noticed about you is you are all of those things that I just listed. Like, you are affable, you are amiable, you are friendly, you are compelling to listen to, like your energy, all of that. So that's what I was thinking as I was just listening.
Yeah. And the great marketers, I think, are those things. But like, just if you take like a random marketer and tell like, hey, speak in front of this crowd, they're going to be like, no. They wouldn't even want to do it.
Or, and nor do I necessarily think they all should be able to do it, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, especially if they're content writers. It's not your thing.
If you are a content writer, you are a demand gen specialist who is really focused on metrics and quantitative analysis and really like in the weeds, nitty gritty stuff. Like, I don't necessarily expect, nor do I want you to have a superpower in public speaking, in, you know, convincing storytelling through verbal communication. So I'm curious too, like, because this was a big topic for Patrick, because like he was the one that brought it to my attention, just like, wow, she's done so much. What else did you want to ask her about that?
You made it seem like, oh yeah, like everybody that's in sales could do marketing, customer success. Like, I might disagree. I think there are some people that can do it like you, but I've seen people really struggle going between departments, like people that were like rock stars in sales trying to like go to customer success. It just did not work, and like vice versa. So why do you think that's something that some people are able to do and other people are more specialized and it's harder for them to break out?
No, that's great. And it's true. I mean, I think like making any kind of general statements is honestly not my jam. What I really meant was like there are transferable skills within all of that that can translate really well when we open up our minds to it, you know? So it's like, okay, maybe I started out in customer success, but as I go through it, I realize like, hey, I'm really great at speaking to clients on QBRs, and I'm really great, you know, so I do have this public speaking thing that I love. And so instead of pigeonholing myself into one role or into what I thought I should do, because this is how I ended up, I might be better suited for something else, or I might be able to take these skills and transfer them elsewhere. So I think that that is the adaptability that goes in with individual people. But I really think it's also people who kind of take their mind off of what I should do and what I thought I had to do in my career, and are able to look around and say, okay, what other opportunities do my skills actually, can they work toward? And maybe it will bring me more joy. You know, like I am not an in the weeds, you know, super day driven, get in there, like I will die a slow death if you stick me in a corner for a long time. But when you're able to capitalize on some of that and bring in your other skill set and other traits, then I think you are able to look around, especially again, if you are either in a big department or a big company where you've got open opportunities where you can learn, or if you're in a smaller startup and are like, okay, I know that they need me to do this role, but can maybe I partner up with someone in sales and see, okay, if could that be an interesting project that can help them specifically for marketing and copywriting? That's really how I landed into more of the sales role, was taking something I was already good at, which was copywriting, and to moving people toward action through words and saying, hey, guess what? Everything that sales does in a sense of the writing piece, whether that's writing a pitch, writing outbound, writing outreach, writing a voice memo, writing a video script, something, it's got to start with some actionable words and copy. So in marketing, how could I buddy up with sales and help them do that? And then along the way, realize, oh my gosh, maybe I'm better suited for something like that. So I don't think it's everybody can jump around and move. I think that you can really take some time to just decide, like, what are the things that I really enjoy in my current role and maybe I'm really great at? And could that be transferable to a different role or a different department? And is that something that I want to do? Can I have an opportunity? Can I grow? Or do I just bring more of that into what I'm doing right now?
So PandaDoc is hiring, Tara, and we would love to have somebody like you join the the Panda Squad here.
This was a secret interview the whole time.
No, I'm just
That's
kidding.
what this was.
I'm curious. I'm curious about where you're going in your career next. I know that you were telling us a little bit that you've been in the last 5-6 months, you've left Gravy and you are now freelancing. And I promise this will tie into like some of the other questions, you know, we talked about earlier. But what's it been like for you? Because I talked to an SDR here at PandaDoc a couple weeks ago, and I was like, why are you in sales? And he was like, I want to start my own business one day. And I know that all of the skill set that I'm building now is going to help me become a better business owner, a better business leader. And all of that stuff is transferable. So I'm thinking, Tara, I hate the phrase jack of all trades. Can we Can we make it like
Hmm.
gender appropriate? The Jill of all trades. Can I do that?
Person of all trades.
Person of all trades. Tara, you
Person.
seem to really be a person of all trades. And I'm wondering if that translates into your interest in going into freelancing and if you have an interest in starting your own business, because you seem to be really good at everything.
Oh, no. I'm definitely terrible at a lot of things. So don't you worry about that. But to your point, the really cool thing about Gravy specifically and Casey Graham, I mean, if you don't follow him, if nobody does, please go do, is that he teaches you how to be an owner regardless of your role, regardless of what you want to do now, regardless of what you want to do in the future. So he has been a mentor to me and, personally, professionally, in every shape or form. I did not leave to say, hey, I want to go start a company or start a business. It was, something that was just the right next step for my stage of life and what was going on. And still, everybody knows, biggest Gravy fan to the point where most people don't even know I left. Like I'm that connected and close with the company and the people who are in the company. So that's number one. As far as what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. I mean, the cool thing now is that instead of just working with one client, I get to work with a few. I get to work not with, again, I don't have a company, so I'm like, I don't want to, replace any with one with like 50, but I'm able to just kind of do some different things that fit into, again, the season of life that I'm in as a mom, as, 3 active boys and their sports and all of that. So really making sure that everything that I do serves a purpose and who I'm becoming, who they're becoming, while also doing what I get to do, which is still work in progress. I'm still doing a ton of different things. I think that jack of all trades or Jill of all trades, it's a good thing in a sense, but it can also, especially for anybody looking to kind of go out on their own or do their own thing, it can be an Achilles heel, because the question becomes, well, what do you do and what do you want to do? And yes, I can do 50 different things, but what do I really want to do? And what I really want to do is always, hey, how can this impact this client best? What is their need? How can what I can do really well help move the needle for them and help get them from A to B or B to C? And so while that can be a bunch of things from, content writing, script writing, to what I love to do too is coaching SDRs and helping them get better at communication. And so for me, it always comes back to helping people communicate as themselves first and foremost, but also communicate really well through their brand, through their messaging, through their company, and through potentially the constraints that they have right now. Because not everybody can just throw something out and start something new. But as I think I've really leaned into this season, I've seen that people truly want to get better at what they do by being who they are. And so that's helping me form what this season of life looks like, as I want to get better doing what I do as I am.
I love that. And I'm curious now that is it okay if I pivot a little bit? And
Go for it.
Okay.
I was wanting to pivot too.
Okay. So getting into the SDR coaching and like what you're doing now and helping people become better communicators, have you seen any recent outreach, or maybe it's not that recent, that has really stood out to you as like different, whether good different or bad different? Has anything been catching your eye that you're like, yo, I gotta tell these guys on this show about this crazy thing I saw an SDR do, or maybe something that you yourself have done?
Well, it's so funny because I look back at it, like everything that I did in the beginning was so different and so unique. And now it's just kind of becoming the norm. And yet it's still unique and it's still different, because things like video and things like voice messaging, I mean, those are my jams, and they were my jams. I wouldn't say from day one, like I learned that as I go. But I approached being an SDR. Number one, fun fact, I had no idea what SDR meant when I started. I just started sending messages to people on Instagram. It's a really funny story. But what I did was, I'm like, look, if I'm going to go outbound and I'm going to ask these people or try to help them genuinely, like actually try to help these people, then I'm going to do it the way I want to do it, in a way that felt normal and natural and real to me. And so on the receiving end, I still don't get that much video, even when I was an SDR manager. So it's like, hello, blinding lights of like, send me all your outreach. And I miss getting prospected like all the time. So guys, send me your stuff, send me all your cold stuff. So I would say the good, it's still good. Like, it's one of those things that, yes, we're maybe 2 or 3 years into video now, but it's still good. Like, when you have somebody who reaches out, I care less about the medium as I do about the person behind. And if they showed, again, that they've taken time to actually know who I am, to know if what they are trying to sell or offer is actually relevant to what I could potentially need. I'm not like, okay, this needs to check every single box. Be normal, be a human. Like, actually help me. Be fun if you're fun. Like, that's the thing too. I think, kind of a side tangent. I know that I'm, outgoing, and that's just my natural personality, but not every SDR needs to be that. I've worked with some great ones who are so smart, and they're more of like, hey, an expert, and they're helping to educate and train. And I'm like, bring that in, like, bring who you are into what you do. And anytime I get any kind of outreach that does that, that shows, hey, they've taken the time to give a crap about me as a human as it relates to what I need. So the relevance, I think, sometimes goes out the window for, again, the personalization. We need to have both. But then bring that, keep it simple, keep it fun, keep it light, and then, get in, get out. And then let's have a conversation. Stop trying to sell me on anything other than a conversation. So those, like, as a general rule of thumb, always stand out. And then, yes, if you can bring video, if you can bring a voice to it, and you can be yourself, not a robotic version or not someone else that you can tell that you're forced, those will always stand out. And then show a little bit of, hey, I took the time. Like, the time piece, I could go off, but it communicates so much more than just, hey, I see we went to the same high school. Like, it's not about that. People forget the underlying, what you're actually communicating when you take the time to do both is you're communicating, you are worth my time. And so now I'm going to be much more likely to say, okay, you're worth my time. And we can get a conversation going.
Do you have any specific examples that come to mind?
Yeah. So I'm a big hip hop fan. And if people don't know that, they literally have not spent 2 seconds on my profile. And it does not take much. And so my favorite outreach to this day is a gal who sent me something that what all it was, super short line. And she had a picture of her and Ja Rule, like, from like the early 2000s. And I'm like, look, not everybody has a picture of them with a celebrity in their back pocket. But you better believe that it was so creative. It was fun. And it took the time just to say, like, hey, I know you love this stuff. Like, I do too. And she totally wove it in. It was a great hook. And she got a meeting. At that point, I wasn't actually in need of her. I was more of a gatekeeper, but I was able to pass her along because I was like, heck yes, you're at least going to get a conversation out of this.
So wait, let's go back to the Ja Rule picture. So this person just happened to have them in a picture with Ja Rule and was like, hey, I know Tara's a hip hop head, so I'm gonna send her this picture as part of my my opener.
We sure it's not a deep fake?
Hey, if it was a deep fake, she took the time to make it a deep fake. I am all about it. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Start lying to Tara in your outreach.
If somebody were
Doesn't take much.
If somebody were to record themselves rapping and send it to you, would that capture your attention, or is that too silly?
No, I don't think there's any. Honestly, I think sometimes we take ourselves way too seriously. Like, I can take what I do, like, I take what I do very seriously. Most of us do, but I don't have to be serious in who I am, And I'm sitting here as, like, I'm not 20. Like, that's okay. And so if I'm not serious, like, I hope that should be the okay that, hey, we don't all have to be serious. But the key is that's relevant to what I like. Would I send a rap video to someone else who clearly has not shown that that's what interests them? Maybe not.
I think that's the piece there, right? Like, don't just send a rap. Like,
yeah, it's more about who you're targeting.
Correct.
Rather than like, I'm going to have this picture of Ja Rule in my back pocket that I use in outreach.
Yeah.
It's like, what are the things that I do when I find somebody that I can personalize? And I want to go deep on the SDR thing for a minute, because Tara, I'm building out enablement for an outbound SDR team from scratch right now. It looks like you did a similar thing.
Yep.
Back in early 2020. So there's like 4 topics that I want to go deep with you on real quick. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Okay. So the most important part, in my opinion, is actually account and lead selection. And I think it's one
Mm.
of those things that people don't really discuss that much. A lot of the LinkedIn and blog content is like, here's a killer phone script, or like, here's how long your cadences should be. But there's not a lot of like, here's how you figure out who you should actually approach. So when you were at Gravy, how did you figure out like what accounts your team was going to go after, and then how they were actually going to work the account? Like how many people that they were going to contact, what kinds of people, and then what strategies they were using at different persona types.
Yeah. So the crazy thing is when I was in charge of that, and I will say that all of that actually came a little bit post me. So that's what team is currently doing now with Derek and a bunch of people at the helm. When I was doing it, we were actually, which is so funny that this has become the topic of the week, but it was 100% social selling. So we are kind of the OGs in social selling, as in all of our ICP when we started out. Again, this was, a few years ago, and it has since grown and grown. We went really deep before we went wide. And so our ICP was strictly personal brands. And so guess where they lived? They lived on Instagram. So rule number one for me was, hey, guess what? We're going to go where our people are. I love the idea of playing in traffic. So I know that doesn't deep dive into actual account based and how you divvy it up and go. But for us, when we were starting out, we just said, you know what, this is where our people live and this is where we're going to go on LinkedIn, which, of course, the entire team and everybody has moved to because we've moved into SaaS. At that point, SaaS was just 100% inbound for us. So we could serve them, but we weren't necessarily going out and targeting them. But I still think the same rules apply, where you've got to be just smart about who you're giving accounts to, about how many people that you are targeting, and what that looks like for your industry and for your department is going to, be something that you've got to absolutely deep dive in. But as we built a team, we built everybody out specifically on Instagram using social messaging. Like we did not call it first. We did not even send emails until probably a year in. So it was kind of wild because it was our wild west of experimenting for us before we moved to just a more traditional approach, which is absolutely being used now. And so I did things like, social, like DMing, of course, creating a lot of traction, inbounds, videos, voice messaging. And then we got sales locked and so moved into more of an email cadence. And then it's been in the last 6 months where they've added cold calling and a more traditional LinkedIn approach. So I was in the middle of that hybrid. So I can't go super deep on everything that you want to know, but in our Instagram approach, it was a very similar where we had to split up leads. We had to figure out who was targeting who and make sure that there wasn't cross-sectioning everybody targeting the same accounts. But it was much easier because it was much simpler.
What was your high level social media strategy?
High level. Can you ask another question or deeper question? Like as in,
So like you're saying you started on Instagram, you moved to
mhm,
LinkedIn. Like what is your process? Like if you're training a rep on how to do
mhm.
these things, like what is the order of operations that you give them? Like you do this, and then you do this, and then you do this, and like your high level strategy for when you're using
Yeah.
social media.
So for Instagram, it was again, we were targeting personal brands. So if you think anybody, so Gravy went to, we served anybody who has subscription, courses, recurring revenue. So all of that. So when you think about who is on Instagram and personal brands, I mean, think about like a Justin Walsh. There are people like that sell courses constantly, and they all have started on Instagram and they've been doing it for years. And it's wild because that's who that was our bread and butter. Those were the people that we served specifically in the early days. So we'd start there by saying, hey, obviously, here are your big influencers. These are who, we're already serving for the most part. And under that, you've got course creators. So you've got people who teach people how to create courses. And then under that, you've got people who are creating courses themselves. So we would find those people. It was definitely an arduous task, and Instagram was not built for a lot of what we did. So everything we did was very manual. You want to talk about creating systems that don't scale? I am your girl. Because everything that we had to do, we had to prove and then figure out, backtrack. Guys, this is like startup world. It's real. And backtrack how to scale it, because why scale something that's not working? So we spent a lot of time doing that. And then it was find your people, find your list, and figure out, I mean, you'd have to mine just like anybody else. I did not hand over for the most part, here's 600 leads. We eventually got to more of that process. But in the beginning, it was, okay, you've got to find your people. This is how you find them. And then from there, we would have a very, normal cadence of you reach out with a text message, because people, if they're not connected with you, they can't see it. And you don't want to come across as like a crazy person. So don't send a video or voice message. You'd send a text script. From there, then you'd wait. Hopefully they'd reply. Then you'd send a video and then a voice message. And if by the third or fourth that they haven't, this was like early days, then you'd move on, and now, of course, and then it moved into, okay, then you'd add an email after the first message, and then you'd send a voice message, and then you'd add another email, and then another video and another email, and then they would go into an email nurture cadence. So that's, and I mean, believe it or not, it worked. But I would say, I'd have to look back at the data. I mean, 80% of our booked meetings were off of that first Instagram or email. So our first DM or email. So it was very, very, very highly targeted to the individual, and it worked.
Wow. When you were on LinkedIn, was it a similar strategy when you started moving over to SaaS, like you said, which is a slightly different industry? Were you getting the same results off like the first couple messages, or did you have to adapt?
No, we definitely had to adapt. The great thing about LinkedIn is that you can choose who you connect with, whereas you can send, unless you're doing an in-mail, you can't just send a message to anybody. So it allowed us to be a more socially savvy, which is how you kind of should be anyway, team, where it's like, hey, be a person, which we were on Instagram, but again, you get access much easier, and people lived in their DMs. Like, owners would live in there and do their business through DMs. Like, it was a very natural, just have a conversation. You could jump farther ahead in Instagram. LinkedIn, it's a slower, I don't even want to, I hate the word game. I hate it. It's a slower process, because I believe very, strongly that, hey, you've got to do things the right way as you would a normal person, which is connect with someone, get to know them, and then absolutely have success with, sending voice messages, and then getting to, hey, this is what I'd love to help you with. So they've had great success there, but it's definitely a different process because people are on LinkedIn for a different reason.
Okay, my final question, because we want to be mindful of your time. We're hitting about 30 minutes into the interview with you. Have you bought anything recently where you were like, damn, they did a really good job marketing that to me or selling that to me in your personal life? So like, Patrick is in the market for a Peloton, so I tried to pitch him on a Peloton recently. It'll be in a future episode. It did not go well, but I got some really useful SDR training from my guy over here. But yeah, I was just wondering, like, have you bought anything recently or had a customer experience that stood out to you, good or bad?
Yeah, well, I would have to say, the funny thing is it's a gym membership. So I know the health of gym. Again, it's like the whole features over benefits, discussion, or benefits over features, I should say, discussion, where I went into this gym. I fully knew, like, okay, I had been a member 5 years before, and I was just expecting them to be like, okay, bells, whistles, sign here, do this. Well, the crazy thing is, I actually brought my 12-year-old with me, my son, and they almost stopped talking to me immediately. And they worked to sell him on his experience, what he could do now that he was 12, because what they were doing, which was so smart, is they knew at the top of my priorities, yes, here's the treadmills, here's the sauna, here's the spa, here's all, like, I knew all the bells and whistles. But what they really knew by me bringing my 12-year-old is, hey, I'm going to sell to her as a mom. And what do moms really care about? They care about making sure their kids are happy and taken care of, so that mom can go get her workout in. So the entire time, Dan, and very respectful, it's not like he ignored me or anything, but he really engaged what I truly cared about, and my ultimate desire of being a mom, and me communicating that, like, hey, he's old enough, what are the things he can do, and spent the entire time making sure my son had the best experience possible. So there was no way we were walking out of that place without a gym membership, so that he could do the things that he could do. But ultimately, Dan tied it back to, hey, Now that he's taken care of, guess what? You can come in and not worry 1 second. You're going to be able to get your workout in, get in and out, sit by the pool, do whatever you want, because he's going to have the best experience possible. So to me, that was selling me without selling me. They really created an experience for what I ultimately cared about. And what I cared about was peace of mind, able to get things done, and that the people that I care about are taken care of.
Wow, that is an awesome example. And shout out to my gym membership salespeople, because, and just curious, does this gym rhyme with Schmel, Schmay, Schmidtness?
No.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
I have no clue.
Does it
I can say
rhyme
what it
with
is.
Shmenny Schmime?
Oh, yeah. No, it's Lifetime. So they're all over the country.
Ooh.
They're great. They're fantastic. Go get a membership. Take your kids.
Because like I think back to I had a gym person who was just like ruthless, like the gym membership salesperson, just they swarmed me when I came in, and they were like fighting, like 3 of the salespeople were fighting over to sell to me, and I came with my friend, and my friend was kind of like one of these people who has never read Never Split the Difference, but they live Never Split the Difference, and he just sat there in the chair with his arms crossed for 45 minutes while I like signed within the first 5 minutes, got my workout in, and he was still silently negotiating his gym contract to not pay the sign up fee. And eventually he got it.
There's a sign up fee?
There you
Exactly.
It sounds like you're wanting to charge me without me even using your services. Is that correct? Silence.
That's correct.
I want to see that.
That's a smart salesperson though, to when you brought your son with you to sell to them. So, but you look like you were going to say something.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like an amazing experience. And talking with a lot of people that have bought stuff that's B2B, they usually tell me it's not a good experience. I'm asking people this a lot, where it's like, how do we give a similar experience that people get in good B2C consumer interactions and like move that over to B2B? Because it's such like a structured robotic process and it's very intense. Does it have to be that way, or do you think there's a way for us to transition?
No, I think it's the cheesy, like, concept of like, we're all people. And I say cheesy because I'm the one who probably is like, broken record, be a human. If you've followed me for any second, you know that like, that's my thing is I truly believe we're all selling all the time, but it doesn't matter what the end result or what we're trying to sell, whether it's, I mean, gravy was a service, not a product. People often think it was a product. So maybe we had a little leg up because we're already selling human, service. But to me, I'm like, that is the experience that we want across the brand. Like, it doesn't matter if I'm buying a tool or if I'm buying a solution, or if I'm buying a Peloton. Like, I want something. I absolutely want something. I want to be better. I want to be more successful. I want to look better. I want to feel better. I want to be, get this money. Like, we all have an inner drive that actually has nothing to do with the product or service that you're selling. So whether that's B2C or B2B, when we take that out of it and we remember, hey, humans underneath this have intrinsic motivation and they have intrinsic needs. How on earth can I position what I do or what I'm selling or how I'm selling it so that I can actually help them get to their goal? This is not about the latest, software or the latest solution. This really is about helping Mr. VP or Miss C-suite get what they really want. And so I think any messaging or anything that we do, if we can bring that thread throughout it, make it a human experience. Sure, maybe we're contacting less people on a day, but if we're really focused on the human and we're focused on the quality and on the end result, we're going to end up getting more revenue at the end of the day. We're going to end up selling more and selling happier customers who end up being raving fans, who end up being referral partners, or all of these other things, not necessarily just hitting a number, going next and just creating it as such a robotic experience, like you were saying. So I think there's a lot that we can do. And I think that there's a lot that we are doing. Like, I don't think also, I know we're easy to like bash the B2B, but I've seen just even in my, 6 months, 8 months of really being on LinkedIn, like such a trend toward this that, and COVID, I think accelerated a lot of it. that I think that, good news ahead. I think that a lot of people are doing this well, and are doing it because they're like, hey, this is probably what we should have been doing the whole time, but also this feels finally sustainable because I'm authentically selling, and I'm authentically can be a good person while I'm selling.
I love it. I love it.
Yay.
Tara, where can people find you, and how can we help you? Is there anything that
Oh
we can
my
help
gosh.
promote on our show for you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, and as you said, I am freelancing and contracting and working with a lot of sales and marketing company, teams, brands, all that kind of stuff, to help with messaging, to help with communication, and all kinds of just fun sales stuff. Especially because I always like to say that even though a lot of people get hung up on, hey, is it marketing, is it sales, and is it copywriting? But that is actually, copywriting is the art and science of strategically delivering words that get people to take a form of action. So everybody is in marketing and everybody's in sales when we really put on that communicator hat. So any way I can help with that, I'm always happy to.
You all heard it. The amazing communicator, Tara Horstmeyer.
Tara Horstmeyer, thank you for being here.
Thank you so
guys.
much for being here. And what are your two favorite hip hop artists of all time?
Oh gosh, all time. Tupac, number one. And I'm gonna have to go. Gosh, it's a tie for some collaborative artists of I'm gonna I'm gonna have to say Bone Thugs and Harmony right up there, and then of course the Atlanta's own Outkast.
Dang, some heavy hitters there. The Tupac thing might be controversial, but Tara, thanks so much. This was awesome. And that's all we got for today.
Thanks for having me.
Great day, everybody.
Thanks for hanging out with us today on the Customer Engagement Lab. For more of Travis and Patrick's chaotic energy, subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast player. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, you would make our hearts smile if you left a super quick rating of the show. Just tap the number of stars you think the show deserves. It'll take you 2 seconds, I promise. Until next time.